Hello and welcome back to the Field Coach Experts podcast, the place where franchisors and field teams come to learn how to build stronger systems and more capable franchisees. I am your host, Jennifer Brannon, the Chief Growth Officer at AC Inc. And today we're talking about something that shows up in almost every system, but often goes unnoticed. The instinct for us as coaches to be the hero for our franchisees. We are the ones that are going to jump in and fix things. We're going to solve all their problems and we're going to give them all of the answers. Now, of course, that feels really helpful, but it can actually create some dependency of your franchisees on you as a coach. It can erode the franchisee's confidence, and it can limit their long-term performance. So today we're unpacking why this happens and what great coaches do instead. And joining me is someone who works every day with field coaches across multiple brands, Erica Shoop, one of our amazing rock star advisors and facilitators here at AC Inc. And Erica, you have been on the podcast before, so I will welcome you back. So glad to have you.
So glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Erica, because you've been here before and you shared your background with us, you've got, a long history in franchising with different brands and doing different things, as we know. What I would love for you to do is talk about now, you are deep in AC Inc. and doing lots of different things. So would love for you to tell our audience what you're up to.
I think what I've been able to do the most is the accelerator, which has been really incredible. I've had several groups go through the accelerator program, and it's been really amazing to work with so many coaches. That has been the thing keeping me the most busy. But I'm also getting to do some coaching of coaches who have already graduated accelerator to help make sure that after they get through the program, they're able to implement everything they learned effectively, because the integration is the hardest part. It is a lot of content in a relatively short period of time. So that's been incredible to get to be a part of the pull through and make sure those coaches are really getting the most out of it. I'm also getting to coach franchisees directly again, which is incredible. I've loved to be able to put some of these skills back into practice with some of the work that I've been getting to do here at AC Inc.
That's amazing. I know, just for the audience, when we refer to the accelerator, that's our field coach certification program. And Erica, this working with franchisees, you've obviously done that lots in the past. But this group, I think that you're working with one of our clients is a little interesting. Right? I'd love just because lots of people are like, hey, what do you guys do over there at AC Inc? And they'll hear different snippets. And when it comes to our advising and the work that we do with our clients specifically, our franchise system clients, our franchisors, leadership, teams, sometimes working directly with franchisees, it's very much all under the franchisee support umbrella, but it can be coaching directly with franchisees. It can be doing executive advising with leadership teams. It can be bringing in strategic growth coaching and implementing it. And in the coaching of franchisees, it manifests its way into different things, whether it's performance groups and other things. And one of the things that we do is we really try to think outside the box when necessary. And not that we're going to talk about this particular brand, but they were a little more budget conscious, smaller brand, a little budget conscious. And we thought outside the box of how could we do a lot of a group coaching scenario that actually does teach these franchisees some business skills, but also get some thinking a little bit about, how to create their own goals and action steps and things like that. So can you just tell us a little bit more about that engagement that we're doing and how you've kind of, how you've positioned it or modeled it, I suppose?
Yeah, of course. So we started out doing something that's probably in between what we would typically do in an accelerator session, which is very like curriculum driven. It's very interactive still in accelerator, but it's
Do you,
it's very
do you mean
curriculum
accelerator
driven.
or performance groups?
Accelerators.
Okay,
So the way that
sorry.
we structured like the initial sessions were somewhere in between accelerator and performance group.
Okay.
So it was kind of a little bit more curriculum driven than we would typically do in a performance group, but less curriculum driven than we would typically do an accelerator. It was a nice little hybrid to kind of meet in the middle to be able to provide to be able to share the information and provide the tools. And then we would break away from the larger group and do implementation in small groups. So that was a little bit different than the way we typically structure performance groups because we kind of front loaded the education and then did the practical application in smaller cohorts, which was a great way to get started. And then we shifted away a little bit from the traditional performance group model even into more of small group coaching. Okay, now let's talk about accountability and pull through. And we've started to put some mechanisms in place for these franchisees to be able to see measurable progress over time before overloading them with, a lot more tools or information. We're focused more on integrating what we've already done and making sure that they really are able to leverage those tools and maximize them more in their day-to-day, make habits essentially.
Right. Yeah, we're very much about, we say it all the time. I know I feel like a broken record, taking these operators and helping them be business owners. Really is what, because I shouldn't say it's easy to be an operator, but that's what you got into. You're running your business, you're running your brand. You run a ballet studio because you love dance and you wanted to have a ballet studio. But the piece that we're missing a lot of time is, okay, I have a ballet studio, but that's a business, and now I need to run a business that just happens to be a ballet studio as well, right? And we want to teach these guys these skills. So that's amazing. I love that we are really customizing what we do to meet these guys, this brand, their budget, and these franchisees, so that we could make it work for them, because I know they're really going to take it and run with it. So that's awesome. So let's get back to our topic for today. So we're talking about as coaches, or even sometimes franchisors, brand new franchisors do this when they're acting in that coaching role as well. We want to be the hero. And we think that that's what coaching is. And I think sometimes coaches or anybody coaching a franchisee doesn't even realize that they're doing it. So, Erica, why do you think it's the instinct of people who are supporting franchisees in this way to jump in and solve problems for those franchisees?
I was thinking about this a lot. I think this comes from a very I think it all comes from a good place, right? Because we are helpers. I think people who are drawn to a coaching profession are naturally helpers, and we want to feel helpful. And sometimes the way that we go about feeling helpful is to just provide solutions or to pride ourselves on having the answers. And sometimes it's also just easier and faster to provide the answers than to take the long road of doing the coaching and helping them kind of uncover the answers on their own. I also think that there's potentially just a fundamental misunderstanding out there of what coaching really is, right? Like if we think about even some of the top tier coaches in professional sports leagues across North America, many of the coaches of those teams did not play at the professional level themselves. Most of them didn't.
Right.
But they are still able to draw the best out of their players. And so I think that's an important thing for us to remember. Like, we don't necessarily need to know all the answers or be the subject matter experts. We need to be experts in coaching. And so I think it's a multi-pronged problem. We just have this natural human instinct to want to be helpful. It makes us feel good to help people. But I also think that there's just a little bit of a fundamental misunderstanding.
I think you're spot on. We see it all the time, right? And this this is a lot of our message as a company when we go to conferences and we do sessions and with our clients is we're trying to make that shift
Hmm.
away from that reactive consulting approach and get into an actual coaching approach. So you've obviously are running our accelerators, and you're seeing this. You're talking to these coaches all of the time. Um, what what are you hearing from them specifically, and where do they say they struggle, with not jumping in and fixing things?
Hmm. Well, um, it's hard sometimes to be able to slow yourself down. A lot of the coaches that I see and I work with have a lot of franchisees that they're looking after. And it can sometimes be hard to slow yourself down and not just want to jump in and move on to the next problem because there's a never ending queue of things happening,
Mhm.
right? And again, there is a lot of like operational support or consulting happening out there, and there's a place for that. Like, don't get me wrong, there's going to be times where we might need quick solutions and quick answers. It's more about being able to like create a balance. But I think again, when we want to be helpful, um or when we feel like maybe it's when we're new to a position or we're new to a franchisee or um, when we're really trying to like build trust and credibility, sometimes we think that credibility comes from having all the answers. And so it's hard to resist the temptation to jump in and solve because we think we're building trust and credibility. We're not necessarily doing that. Like spoiler, we're building dependency, but but it can feel like the best way for us to earn the trust of franchisees. And so it's again, there's multiple things at play here. Sometimes time is a factor. Coaching is a marathon, not a sprint. And bandwidth, everyone is spread thin. Everybody's doing a lot of things. And we're just trying to build trust and credibility, but we may be going about it in the wrong way.
Hmm. Hmm. I think you said something really important there, about how we all know this, that working with franchisees, there's always issues and problems, and there's time for consulting. And I think that's the difference, in that consulting is actually a part of coaching. If you're
Mhm.
actually really coaching, you are giving advice at times, you are problem solving at times, you are sometimes even just listening at times. But it's that in addition to all of the coaching piece of the skills and the asking all the questions and getting the franchisee bought in by questioning as opposed to telling him, and these things. So we're never saying forget the problems, forget giving advice or telling. There are times when I always look at it like there's times when somebody needs to be trained. They're not going to be able to come to the conclusion themselves. They
Yes.
need they're missing this. But it's the mistake is when we think coaching is equivalent to that, which is, consulting, right?
Right.
So you've mentioned that the consequences or the downside, I guess, when we are stepping in is that to be that hero and giving the answers and stuff. One, you've said dependency. What else might happen when we're in that role with our franchisees?
Right. Yeah. Well, we train them to their first instinct every time something comes up is to call us or
Yes.
text us. And that's where the dependency comes in. But then with that is if we do always give solutions or advice and they are not part of that process, it's not a collaborative process, or they aren't even necessarily the ones coming up with the ideas or solutions. If something does go wrong, it then kind of comes back to us.
Mm-hmm.
They will, say like there's no ownership there. They'll say like, "Well, this is exactly what you told me to do. I just did what you told me to do."
Right.
And then everybody's in a little bit of hot water. But when we teach people that their first step anytime something comes up is to reach out to us, number one, like they're losing out because they're not feeling like confident or empowered, but that can lead to burnout for the coaches. And that's a
Mhm.
very common thing that we see for coaches when, especially in systems where coaches have, more than 30, 40 franchisees that they're looking after. That's a lot of people coming to you, and a lot of fires to put out.
Mhm. And a lot of times it's not even it's like minor things. And I
Mhm.
was a franchisee. I talk about it a lot. I was a franchisee. I did pretty well. I had my own accountability and I was driving my business. However, oh, I need X. I need this document. I need this process. I need this social media asset. Am I going to go in? I'm going to like look and find it and find the right spot? No, I had my coach on speed dial. I would text him and be like, Mark, where do I find X? Right. And Mark, for a while, would be like, you here, let me send it to you. Go here. Right. That didn't empower me to go and take care of it myself, and empowered, or it trained me to text Mark on every little thing until Mark was like, Jen, you gotta go. It's there. Go and find it yourself. I'm like, but you would tell me. You'll just give it to me. You'll just send it to
It's
me. Like,
easier
and
if I
and
just
yeah,
ask.
he gave me a context at that point because I'm very big, me personally, at putting myself in somebody else's shoes. It's how I roll. I'm always thinking about what would I be like. And he was like, I have 40 franchisees that I'm looking for. Imagine like what it's like. Everybody's asking me for these things when it's right there. And
Yep.
he said it in a kind way. Don't get me wrong. And I was
Of
like,
course.
valid point. And I
Mhm.
never texted him again about stupid stuff. So that's a really basic example, but I know that there's lots of coaches out there, if they're listening, are like, oh my gosh, my franchisees do that to me all of the time. And it's
Mhm.
like, because you are enabling that,
You're
right?
responding
You're
every
responding.
time.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just a basic example. All the things that I did as a bad franchisee. No, I was a good franchisee. I just didn't always act like a good
Hi
franchisee.
Hindsight is always 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we talk a lot when we are working with franchisees in our performance groups, or talking to franchisors about how great our performance groups are, as well as in the accelerator talking about coaches, about what if we are actually stop being the hero, if we start empowering our franchisees, if we start giving them the business skills they need, if we start getting their own buy-in and accountability by asking questions so that they can come to their own conclusions. One of the big things that starts to happen is their confidence, right?
Yeah.
Their confidence starts building, that I can find that asset myself. I don't need Mark. Or, okay, I figured out this problem myself. And we start giving them the skills, as a coach, to think through the steps so that they can come to their own conclusion. Not even in the coaching call, right? And so we stop I'll just write that down and I'll talk to my coach about that next week, as opposed to like, could I solve this problem myself? Let me think it through.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that, and how does that rescuing, being the hero, how does that have the reverse impact that we want, over time with our franchisees?
Yeah. Well, again, it teaches them that the only way to solve the problem is to ask someone else. It teaches them that they don't have the skills or the ability to think critically and work through it and feel empowered and come to solutions, right? And here's the thing that I think we see this all the time in franchising, is that we get a lot of folks coming into franchising and entrepreneurship, and they come in, and this is potentially their only opportunity to build a business and build a legacy, right? They may not have done it without the proven systems and frameworks and the support team in place to help them do that. But many of them are not confident in their ability to be entrepreneurs. If they were, they would have just gone out and made it up and done it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking to us for confidence in the beginning. They have confidence in our systems and in our teams, but confidence is something that we actually need to like build and foster. When we rescue and we consult, we continually rob them of opportunities to learn on their own, and we just teach them to become reliant on us. They never gain the confidence. They may never be completely self-sufficient, and they might not actually reach their full potential. They may not even have the confidence to just run the day-to-day on their own. So our role as coaches it goes so far beyond helping someone just build a business or be profitable or be successful. It's truly to help people feel so empowered and so confident that they actually don't need us as much.
Mm-hmm.
It's, in a sense, we want to like work ourselves out of a job. But what's interesting is once they get to that place where they become empowered and confident and successful, they actually want to talk to us more
Mm-hmm.
because we've built so much trust with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very like interesting dynamic, but it's one that has to be like built intentionally, where we have to continually resist the temptation to just solve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved everything that you just said, but that last little bit about how we want to make them not need us, but because they want to talk to us more, then this is where, the magic really happens, that now we are a strategic accountability partner with our franchisees. Now we're talking about their goals and their vision for this business and what do they need to do to get there, and how, setting the goals and looking at the financials and the metrics and really planning like all the good juicy stuff, which is all around growth, not just fixing the problems and dealing with the issues. And that's where we want to get to. True coaching is really, growth coaching is really when we're in that spot and can help them move. Now we're coaching all different levels of franchisees, but when we get into that true, let's level you up, that's when the like a lot of great work happens with that coach and franchisee relationship. So it's really hard though for coaches, because so many coaches come from the operations background, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I became I had been a franchisee. I know franchising. I know, my industry. Okay. I make a great coach. Sure. Because I know the business. Lots of industry experts, right? Subject matter experts. I had a client once that was in restoration. All of their coaches were 30 years in restoration, but nobody had the coaching training of coaching franchisees. So the struggle was, and we worked together. Now they're phenomenal people, but they leveled up their skills because now they learn how to coach, right? So let's talk about in the accelerator, and how do we help those coaches in the accelerator develop this skill? How do we teach them from shifting away from being that hero toward building the ownership with the franchisees?
Yeah. Well, let's first level set with what accelerator even is. It's a coaching certification program. It's 40 sessions long. 10 of those sessions are focused on tactical tools, our strategic growth coaching methodology and the toolbox that comes along with it, how to use the tools. The other 30 sessions in Accelerator are focused on human skills, on the coaching skills, the leadership skills, the emotional and social intelligence, personality profiles, coaching styles, communication styles. We go through everything, like end to end, and every single session is I try to make Accelerator as discussion based as possible, because we get so much value hearing the experience from the other coaches in the room. So we have our curriculum, we move through our curriculum, but we have so much rich discussion. We have opportunities to do role plays and reflection exercises. You have assignments that you have to turn in, and one of those is a personal action plan on how you plan on integrating and developing the skills that you've learned in Accelerator. So we do some teaching, but we do so much discussion and practice in real time. And I think being able to practice when there's no pressure on helps coaches pull those tools out of their toolbox more easily when they
Mhm.
are in the moment with their franchisees. But they need to practice in like a safe space where it's okay to fail. Um, and not that I've seen anyone actually fail. Like we get such incredible people coming through, and anytime you're practicing and learning, you're winning, right? Like it's been really, really good. It's also been incredible to see the personal action plan assignments and see clear, measurable ways that people want to continue this learning on their own so that they can better integrate it.
Mhm.
Everything just becomes so practical because it's an ongoing practice. It's never something we master. There's always more to learn and other ways for us to grow.
Nice. So if we look at that, um, the specific piece of turning, like being, stop being that hero.
Hmm.
What are some of the ways that we, within the program that we really teach that particular thing?
Hmm. Um, we start out with we start out after the more tactical sessions with talking about like emotional and social intelligence. And actually, the first thing we do is learning about yourself.
Mhm.
It's learning about your own personality profile, your default coaching style. Um, you're building your own self awareness and learning to like regulate your own emotions. So I think the better we know ourselves and the ways that we tend to show up when we're kind of on autopilot, the easier it's going to be for us to integrate changes in those behaviors as we move through the rest of the program.
Mhm.
So it starts from a place of self awareness, but we focus so much on active listening skills, question asking skills, being able to read the room, understanding other people's personality and communication styles so that we can better meet our franchisees where they are. There's so much like integrated here. And what's interesting is we see some common themes kind of recurring, and we will talk about some of these concepts a few times, a few different ways, so that you can see all the different places this creeps into your day to day as a coach and the importance of building these skills. But I think some of the most powerful ones are the active listening and like motivational interviewing sessions because they come back over and over and over again.
Yeah, those are my favorite. I will always, if I'm ever talking about it, because I
Yeah.
think that especially the questions, right? We
Hmm.
always say we just did a podcast about the 70-30 rule. Some
Mm,
will say 80-20, whatever it might be. But this is how, by asking those questions, we help the franchisee come to their own conclusion or figure out the answer to the problem themselves. Because we're just
yeah.
asking the questions and then the follow-up question and then the next question and a question in a different way. And I love this session, or sessions, that you guys do, because I think it's such a actual, like, I can take what I just learned today and I can go and do it right now,
Mm,
because it's so powerful. And we give you, right, there's resources that we give you, like the different types of questions and when to ask them in different scenarios, and
yeah.
that alone, I think, is really a key element of stopping being the hero and shift to, helping the franchisees figure it out,
Yeah.
themselves.
Those two sessions, you can see the power in those two sessions because over and over again in almost every accelerator group I've run, those two sessions run longer than our allotted 90 minutes. We
Yeah.
have carryover because people want to talk about it and really pick it apart and dig deep, and there's so much good discussion. So that's where we tend to go over in those sessions because there's a lot happening and people feel how powerful those skills are.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not surprised at all. When they start using those skills and amongst others that they're learning, what do you hear from them that they're saying they're seeing in the change in their work with the franchisees?
Definitely more impactful conversations are happening. I think also what is the really interesting byproduct of really good active listening and motivational questioning skills is more focus and intention in your sessions, right? It's because one thing that a lot of franchisees find challenging is prioritization. Everything feels important. Everything feels like a priority. There's a lot on their plate and they can get overwhelmed. But if we're not trying to solve every one of those problems and we're able to surface the most important things by asking like really good, really pointed questions, franchisees can actually start to feel less overwhelmed because they can do fewer things but do more of what matters. So they actually start to see the impact on their business. I think when we can slow down and have more impactful conversations that are driven more with active listening and questioning, they learn to hone in, not chase the shiny objects, focus on the most impactful things. And we see a lot less like firefighting and a lot more strategic guidance.
Yeah. Can you give maybe an example of what it looks like to put something like this into practice? Maybe a scenario that you've heard of a coach where they've stepped in and solved something, or that's what they would have normally done, but instead they handled it differently.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. We actually just had a really good conversation about this yesterday on the Field Coach Support Roundtable. We got to see coaches share a couple of like stories and some of the questions that they ask to slow down a conversation when they notice that franchisees are starting to become a bit reliant on them. A couple of my favorites were if a franchisee asks you like what would you do or what should I do? The coach will simply say, what are all the options you're considering? And somebody, I
Nice.
forget, I wish I could credit the person who said that yesterday. I forget who said it, but it was someone in our roundtable. And that was a really good question to just slow down the conversation and encourage the franchisee to think it through.
Yeah.
The other one that really stood out to me was, is there one option out of these that really stands out to you? Why is that the standout option? Or what resources and support do you need to be able to make a decision about this? So those coaches yesterday, even in our roundtable discussion, were sharing real life examples of how they can slow the conversation down and ask more questions to help franchisees think more critically, choose the path that feels best for them, and solve the problem on their own.
Yeah.
Start to build their confidence.
Awesome. I love that. I love those skills, those questioning skills. And so you mentioned our roundtables for listeners, in particular coaches. If you're listening, we do offer a free roundtable weekly Thursdays at 3:30 Eastern. It's just on Zoom. It's a whole bunch of coaches coming together from different brands. Come when you can. Leave early, come late. I know everybody's busy, but it's really always great discussions. We have different topics every week. So reach out to us if that's something that you are interested in. And we also have a few others for franchisor, franchise leadership, and one for the director level VP. So if it's something you want to learn more, it's on our website as well, fieldcoachexperts.com. You can go and check out. We'd love to have you join. Okay, so Erica, we got to wrap up, just looking at the time. So for you, what do you think, or what do you see or feel, I guess, like what's the most rewarding part for you when you see these coaches talk about their experience and maybe when they first started coming to the accelerator and learning some of these skills and working with their franchisees? Tell me about why you find that rewarding and what that looks like.
Well, it's really fun because right at the very beginning of Accelerator, we talk about the difference between coaching and consulting, and we ask the question, what percentage of coaching versus consulting are you doing? And without fail, every person coming through Accelerator has said that they are predominantly coaching. Right. And interestingly enough, by the end of Accelerator, when they're giving their final presentations with their personal action plans, almost every single person says, again, without fail, I thought I was coaching. I've learned that I'm not, but I'm so excited to start. So seeing those shifts happen over the course of the accelerator program has been incredible. But the best part about that is that there's a ripple effect to that, right? Like, we've created this space where people feel safe enough to really look in the mirror, figure out where they have opportunities to continue to grow and improve. Then they're taking that out into the field and they're modeling that for their franchisees, which is essentially all of these leadership skills and qualities. And then their franchisees can kind of learn that and model it with their teams in the businesses they're leading. And it just keeps going. So creating this space and this program where people feel so like excited and empowered to continue to learn and grow is amazing. And that just means that hopefully that's going to be a never-ending cycle, because empowered people tend to empower other people.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Love that. Love that. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this topic, and then of course the accelerator. We are very passionate about what we're doing in that program and what a difference it's making for has made for hundreds of coaches already. So we're very, very proud of it. And if anybody who's listening is interested in learning more, definitely go to our website, again, fieldcoachexperts.com, and you can learn more. And if you're interested, you can have a call with myself and we can talk about that or any other of your needs. So thank you so much for joining us on the Field Coach Expert podcast. And we will see you again next week.